The room buzzed with excitement as students from all corners of the galaxy gathered in the grand hall of the Intergalactic Academy. The Academy was a place where young minds came together to learn about the mysteries of the universe. And today was no ordinary day. A new assignment had been announced, one that would test not just their knowledge but also their courage. Alex Carter, a human girl with curly brown hair and a determined look in her eyes, sat at a table near the back of the room. She was surrounded by classmates who looked nothing like her. To her left was Kale, an insectoid creature with 6 delicate legs and shimmering green wings. His movements were quiet, almost unnoticeable, but his sharp eyes missed nothing. On her right was Rinna, a reptilian being with smooth scales that glimmered faintly under the artificial lights. Her tail flicked nervously as she listened to the professor's instructions. Their teacher, Dr. Lurzin, stood at the front of the room. He was tall and amphibious, with translucent skin that revealed hints of glowing veins beneath. His voice echoed through the hall as he explained the details of their next project. "Each team will study an apex predator," he said, his tone serious. "You will observe its behavior, document its hunting patterns, and present your findings. This is not just an academic exercise, it is survival training." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Apex predators were dangerous creatures, feared across the galaxy for their power and cunning. Some students exchanged worried glances, while others leaned forward eagerly, ready for the challenge. When it came time to assign predators, Alex's team wasn't lucky. They drew the shortest straw, which meant they would be studying the Vraxor, a monstrous beast native to Erendur, a planet known as a Deathworld. The name alone sent shivers down many spines. Stories about the Vraxor were legendary. It was said to be faster than a starship in pursuit, stronger than any machine, and smarter than most hunters. Rinna groaned softly, her claws tapping anxiously on the table. "This is impossible," she whispered. "No one survives close encounters with a Vraxor. How are we supposed to study it?" Kale tilted his head thoughtfully. "We'll find a way," he replied in a calm voice. "But we need to prepare carefully." Alex didn't say anything at first. Her mind raced with possibilities. She knew this was going to be difficult, maybe even terrifying, but she also felt a spark of excitement. Back on Earth, she had always loved solving problems and facing challenges. Now here she was, standing on the edge of something truly extraordinary. Later that evening, Alex met with her teammates in the library to discuss their plan. Holographic screens floated around them, displaying images and data about the Vraxor. It was massive, with jagged teeth, thick armored skin, and razor-sharp claws. Its eyes glowed like molten fire, and its roar could shake mountains. Just looking at the pictures made Rinna squirm uncomfortably. "We can't approach it directly," Kale said, pointing to a map of Erendur. "Its territory covers dense jungles and rocky terrain. We'll need to stay hidden and use long-range observation tools." "But what if it finds us?" Rinna asked, her voice trembling slightly. Alex leaned forward, her expression firm. "Then we'll deal with it. We have to remember why we're doing this. This isn't just homework, it's a chance to prove ourselves. If we stick together and stay smart, we'll make it through." Her words seemed to calm the group, though Rinna still looked uneasy. As they packed up their things and headed back to their dorms, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that this mission was going to change everything, for better or worse. Little did she know, the real adventure was only beginning. The journey to Erendur began early the next morning. Alex, Kale, and Rinna boarded a sleek research vessel piloted by Dr. Lurzin. The ship hummed with energy as it lifted off from the Academy's docking bay, leaving behind the gleaming towers of Zentrix 7. Through the large windows, Alex watched as stars streaked past, her heart pounding with anticipation. This was her first time traveling to such a dangerous planet, and she couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and fear. Dr. Lurzin stood at the controls, his translucent hands moving gracefully over the console. "Erendur is unlike any other planet," he warned, his voice low and serious. Its magnetic fields are unstable, and its atmosphere is toxic to most species. Stay alert at all times." Kale nodded silently, his wings folding tightly against his back. Rena, however, looked pale, if reptilian creatures could look pale, and kept glancing nervously at the navigation screen. Alex tried to stay focused, reviewing their notes about the Vraxer one last time. She reminded herself that they were prepared, even if the odds felt stacked against them. As they approached Erendur, the ship began to shake violently. Alarms blared, and red warning lights flashed across the cabin. "We're losing control," Dr. Lurzin shouted above the noise. "The magnetic interference is too strong." Before anyone could react, the ship lurched downward, spiraling out of control toward the planet's surface. Alex gripped the edge of her seat, her knuckles turning white. Outside the windows, the dense jungle rushed up to meet them. With a deafening crash, the ship slammed into the ground, sending debris flying in every direction. For a moment, there was silence. Then, groans filled the air as the team slowly regained their senses. Alex blinked, dazed, and looked around. The cabin was a mess. Panels were cracked, wires sparked dangerously, and smoke filled the air. Dr. Lurzin was slumped over the controls, unconscious but still breathing. Kale helped Rena to her feet while Alex checked on their supplies. "We need to get out of here," Alex said firmly, grabbing a small pack of emergency rations. "This place isn't safe." The group stumbled out of the wreckage, coughing from the thick smoke. Around them, the jungle stretched endlessly, its towering trees covered in glowing fungi that cast an eerie light. Strange sounds echoed through the air, chirps, growls, and rustling leaves. Alex tightened her grip on a makeshift spear she had grabbed from the ship's storage compartment. "This is bad," Rena muttered, her tail flicking nervously. "Really bad." Kale scanned their surroundings with sharp eyes. "We should find shelter before nightfall," he suggested, "and check our equipment." As they assessed the damage, it became clear that their communication devices were beyond repair, destroyed by the crash. Without a way to call for help, they were stranded. Alex tried not to let her frustration show. They had trained for situations like this, hadn't they? She took a deep breath and turned to her teammates. "We'll figure this out," she said confidently. "First, we need to set up camp." They worked quickly, gathering branches and vines to build a makeshift shelter near the wreckage. As darkness fell, the jungle came alive with strange noises. Shadows moved between the trees, and the air grew colder. Rena volunteered to take the first watch, her claws gripping a long stick tightly. It wasn't long before something caught her attention. A faint rustling sound came from the bushes nearby. At first, she thought it might be the wind, or perhaps some harmless creature, but then she saw it. Two glowing eyes peered out from the shadows, reflecting the dim light of the fungi. The Vraxer had found them. Rena froze, her breath catching in her throat. The creature stepped into view, massive and terrifying. Its armored body shimmered under the faint glow, and its claws scraped against the ground as it moved closer. It sniffed the air, its glowing eyes locking onto Rena. "Alex!" Rena screamed, her voice trembling. "It's here." Alex bolted upright, grabbing her spear as Cal scrambled to his feet. For a moment, everything seemed to slow down. The Vraxer let out a low guttural growl, its hot breath visible in the cool night air. Then, without warning, it lunged forward, its claws slicing through the air. Acting purely on instinct, Alex stepped in front of her friends, holding the spear steady. She shouted and waved her arms, trying to startle the beast. To everyone's surprise, the Vraxer hesitated, its glowing eyes narrowing as it studied her. After what felt like an eternity, it backed away, disappearing into the shadows as quickly as it had come. The group stood in stunned silence, their hearts racing. They had survived, for now. But Alex knew this was only the beginning. The next morning, the jungle was eerily quiet. The crash site felt like a battleground, with broken pieces of the ship scattered around and the faint smell of burnt metal lingering in the air. Alex sat on a fallen log, staring at the dense trees where the Vraxer had disappeared the night before. She couldn't stop thinking about how close they had come to disaster. Her hand still shook slightly as she gripped her makeshift spear. Kale fluttered his wings gently, trying to shake off the tension. "That was unexpected," he said, his voice calm but tinged with unease. "It could have killed us." Rena nodded, her scales shimmering faintly in the dim light. "Why didn't it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "What made it stop?" Alex didn't have an answer, but she had a theory. "Maybe it was testing us," she said slowly, "like it wanted to see if we were worth fighting." Her words hung in the air for a moment. None of them liked the idea of being tested by such a deadly creature, but it made sense. The Vraxer wasn't just a mindless beast. It was intelligent, strategic, and clearly dangerous. Dr. Lurzin groaned softly as he began to wake up. His translucent skin looked paler than usual, and his movements were sluggish. "What happened?" he asked, rubbing his head. "We crashed," Alex explained quickly. "And the Vraxer found us last night. But it didn't attack. Not fully, anyway." Dr. Lurzin frowned, his glowing veins pulsing faintly. "This is troubling," he said. "If the Vraxer sees us as a threat, it won't leave us alone for long. We need to find a way to observe it without provoking it further." "That's easier said than done," Rena muttered, glancing nervously at the jungle. "How are we supposed to study something that could kill us in seconds?" Alex stood up, determination in her eyes. "We'll figure it out," she said firmly. "But first, we need supplies. Food, water, anything useful from the wreckage." The group worked together, salvaging what they could from the remains of the ship. They found a few energy bars, a damaged scanner, and some tools that might come in handy. Cal discovered a small drone hidden under a pile of debris. It was dented but still functional. "This could help us track the Vraxer," he suggested, holding it up. As they sorted through their findings, Alex noticed movement in the distance. A figure emerged from the trees, walking cautiously toward them. At first, she thought it was another predator, and her grip tightened on her spear. But as the figure came closer, she realized it was human. A man with rugged features, tattered clothes, and a confident stride. "Who are you?" Alex called out, her voice steady despite her surprise. The man raised his hands in a gesture of peace. "Name's Jake Monroe," he said with a grin. "I've been living here for years. Guess my planet decided to throw me some company." Jake explained that he had been stranded on Erinder after a failed expedition. Over time, he had learned to survive, studying the planet's creatures, including the Vraxer. He warned them that the beast was far more cunning than they realized. "It hunts strategically," he said. "It doesn't just rely on strength. It plans its attacks." Alex listened carefully, her mind racing. If the Vraxer was so smart, maybe they could use that against it. "What if we challenged it?" she asked suddenly. "Not to fight it directly, but to show it we're not easy prey." Kale tilted his head thoughtfully. "You mean assert dominance?" "Exactly," Alex said. "If we can make it respect us, maybe it'll leave us alone." Jake nodded slowly. "It's risky, but it could work. I've seen the Vraxer back down when faced with something stronger or smarter." Rena looked skeptical. "And if it doesn't back down?" "Then we'll deal with it," Alex replied firmly. "We don't have a choice." With Jake's help, the group began preparing for their plan. They gathered materials to build traps and distractions, knowing they would need every advantage they could get. As they worked, Alex felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. She knew this was going to be dangerous, but she also felt ready. For the first time since arriving on Erinder, she believed they might actually stand a chance. The plan was set, but it didn't make anyone feel completely safe. Alex and her team spent the rest of the day preparing for their encounter with the Vraxer. Jake Monroe had become an invaluable part of the group, sharing his knowledge about the jungle and the creature they were dealing with. He showed them how to use glowing fungi as bait, explaining that the Vraxer was drawn to bright lights in the dark. "Remember," Jake said as he helped Alex sharpen a wooden spear, "this isn't just about strength. It's about outsmarting it." Kale worked quietly on modifying the small drone they had salvaged earlier. He added a few makeshift tools to it, including a noise emitter that could mimic the calls of smaller animals. "This will distract it if things go wrong," he explained, his wings twitching slightly. Rena stayed close to the group, her nervous energy making her fidget constantly. She wasn't used to being so far from safety, but she tried to focus on the task at hand. "What happens if it gets too close?" she asked, her voice trembling. "We stay calm," Alex replied firmly. "If we panic, it'll see us as weak. We have to show it we're not afraid." As night fell, the jungle grew darker and more alive. Strange sounds echoed around them: chirps, growls, and rustling leaves. The team moved cautiously to a clearing near their camp, where they had set up the glowing fungi as bait. The soft light illuminated the area just enough to see without giving away their exact position. Dr. Lurzin stayed behind at the shelter, still recovering from the crash. Before leaving, Alex promised him they'd be careful. "We'll come back," she said, trying to sound confident. Deep down, though, she knew there was no guarantee. They waited silently, crouched behind bushes and trees. Minutes felt like hours as they listened for any sign of movement. Finally, they heard it, a low growl in the distance, followed by the sound of heavy footsteps crushing leaves and branches. The ground seemed to vibrate slightly with each step the Vraxer took. "There," Kale whispered, pointing toward the edge of the clearing. The massive creature emerged from the shadows, its glowing eyes scanning the area. Its armored body shimmered faintly under the dim light, and its claws scraped against the ground as it moved closer to the bait. Alex tightened her grip on her spear, her heart pounding. She glanced at Jake, who gave her a subtle nod. This was her moment. Taking a deep breath, Alex stepped forward into the clearing. Her teammates held their positions, ready to act if needed. The Vraxer froze, its glowing eyes locking onto her. For a moment, everything seemed to stop. Then, with a deafening roar, the beast charged. Alex didn't run. She stood her ground, shouting loudly and waving her arms to appear bigger and more intimidating. When the Vraxer lunged, she dodged to the side, jabbing her spear at its exposed flank. The weapon didn't penetrate its thick skin, but it startled the creature enough to make it hesitate. The Vraxer turned its attention back to Alex, studying her with those fiery eyes. It snarled, baring rows of jagged teeth, but instead of attacking again, it took a step back. Alex kept her stance firm, her breathing steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "You've got this," Jake murmured from behind a tree, his voice barely audible. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the Vraxer let out a low growl and retreated into the jungle. It disappeared into the shadows as quickly as it had come, leaving the clearing eerily quiet. For a moment, no one moved. Then Rena broke the silence. Did that really just happen?" Alex lowered her spear, her legs shaking slightly. "Yeah," she said, her voice soft, but filled with relief. "I think we just earned its respect." Jake stepped forward, clapping Alex lightly on the shoulder. "You did good," he said with a grin. Not many people can say they stared down a Vraxer and lived to tell the tale. As the group returned to their camp, Alex couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. They weren't out of danger yet, but they had taken a big step towards surviving Narinder and completing their mission. The next morning, the jungle felt different. The air was lighter, and the sounds of wildlife seemed less threatening. Alex woke up feeling a mix of exhaustion and pride. She had faced the Vraxer and survived, a feat that still felt surreal. Sitting by the campfire, she watched as Kale and Rena worked on repairing the damaged scanner they had salvaged from the wreckage. Jake was nearby, sharpening a stick with his knife, while Dr. Lurzin rested under a makeshift canopy. "We need to finish this assignment," Alex said, breaking the silence. "If we can document the Vraxer's behavior, we'll have everything we need." Kale nodded, adjusting the wires inside the scanner. "With the repairs, we might be able to track its movements," he said. "But we'll have to stay cautious." Rena looked up, her scales shimmering faintly in the sunlight. "Do you think it will come back?" she asked, her voice tinged with worry. Jake leaned back against a tree, his expression thoughtful. "The Vraxer doesn't forget easily," he said, "but it also respects strength. If we keep our distance and avoid provoking it, we should be okay." Alex stood up, brushing dirt off her hands. "Then let's focus on gathering data," she said. "We can use the drone to monitor it from afar." The group agreed, and they set out into the jungle once again. This time, their goal wasn't to confront the Vraxer, but to observe it without risking another dangerous encounter. Kale launched the modified drone high into the trees, where it hovered silently, scanning the area for signs of movement. Meanwhile, Alex and Rena followed the tracks the creature had left behind, deep claw marks in the soil and crushed plants leading deeper into the jungle. As they walked, Alex noticed something unusual. The Vraxer's path seemed deliberate, almost like it was patrolling its territory. She pointed this out to Jake, who nodded. "It's marking its hunting grounds," he explained. "This beast is smart. It knows exactly where its prey will be." They stopped at a rocky ledge overlooking a wide clearing. From their vantage point, they could see the Vraxer in the distance. It moved gracefully despite its size, stalking a herd of small, deer-like creatures. The team watched in awe as the predator pounced, taking down its prey with precision and speed. It was terrifying, but also mesmerizing to witness. Kale adjusted the drone's camera, capturing every detail. "This is incredible," he whispered. "Its hunting strategy is unlike anything I've ever seen." Rena clutched her tail nervously but couldn't look away. "It's beautiful and horrifying," she admitted. After recording the Vraxer's behavior, the group returned to camp, eager to review the footage. They gathered around the damaged scanner, which Cal had managed to connect to the drone's memory. The images were grainy but clear enough to analyze. The Vraxer's movements, tactics, and even its body language told a story of intelligence and adaptability. "This is going to blow everyone away," Alex said, smiling for the first time in days. "No one's ever documented a Vraxer like this before." Dr. Lurzin, though still weak, examined the data with interest. "You've done remarkable work," he said, his glowing veins pulsing faintly. "This will change how we understand apex predators." As the sun began to set, the group sat together, sharing a meal of dried rations. For the first time since arriving on Arindor, they felt a sense of hope. Their mission was nearly complete, and they had survived encounters that would have broken most people. But Alex knew they weren't out of danger yet. The jungle was still unpredictable, and the Vraxer could return at any moment. Still, she felt confident. Together, they had proven that even in the face of overwhelming odds, courage and teamwork could make all the difference. The next day, the team focused on repairing their ship. It was a daunting task, but with Jake's help, they made steady progress. He had spent years scavenging parts from his own crashed vessel, and he knew exactly what to do. "We'll need to replace the damaged panels and reroute the power supply," he explained, pointing to the cracked sections of the hull. "It won't be perfect, but it'll get us off this planet." Alex, Kale, and Rena worked tirelessly. Following Jake's instructions, they used pieces of the wreckage and materials scavenged from the jungle to patch up the ship. Dr. Lurzin, though still recovering, offered advice when needed, his knowledge of advanced technology proving invaluable. As they worked, Alex couldn't stop thinking about the Vraxer. She replayed the encounter in her mind, analyzing every detail. The creature's hesitation before retreating had been surprising. Was it truly respect, or something else? She wondered if they had truly earned its trust or just delayed the inevitable. By late afternoon, the repairs were nearly complete. The ship looked battered but functional, its engines humming softly as Jake tested the controls. "This should hold until we reach Zentrix 7, he said, wiping sweat from his brow. "But we'll need to leave soon. The longer we stay, the more dangerous it gets." Rena sighed in relief. "I can't wait to get out of here," she admitted, her tail flicking nervously. "This place gives me nightmares." Cale nodded in agreement. "It's been educational," he said dryly, earning a small laugh from the group. Before leaving, Alex decided to visit the clearing where they had faced the Vraxer. She wanted to leave something behind, a token of gratitude for surviving their encounter. Using a piece of glowing fungi, she carved a simple symbol into a tree trunk, 2 lines crossing each other, representing balance and respect. "It's a reminder," she told Jake, who had accompanied her. "Not just for the Vraxer, but for us too. We came here to study it, not conquer it." Jake smiled faintly. "Smart move," he said. "Creatures like the Vraxer don't forget kindness or bravery." Back at the ship, the group prepared for departure. They packed their notes, recordings, and supplies, ensuring nothing important was left behind. As they boarded, Alex took one last look at the jungle. Despite its dangers, it had taught her so much about survival, teamwork, and even herself. The journey back to Zentrix 7 was quiet but hopeful. Everyone was exhausted, but there was a sense of accomplishment in the air. When they finally arrived, the Academy staff greeted them with surprise and admiration. Few teams returned from studying apex predators, let alone with such detailed observations. In the days that followed, Alex presented their findings to the entire Academy. Her report captivated the audience, showcasing not only the Vraxer's intelligence and strength, but also the lessons she and her team had learned. The footage of the Vraxer hunting and Alex standing her ground became legendary among students and teachers alike. Rena approached Alex after the presentation, her scales shimmering with pride. "You were amazing," she said sincerely. "I doubted you at first, but now I see why you're here." Cale added, "Your leadership saved us." "Thank you." Even Dr. Lurzin praised her efforts, calling the mission a success beyond his expectations. But Alex remained humble. "It wasn't just me," she said. "We did this together." Jake chose to stay at the Academy, sharing his knowledge of Irinder with future researchers. As for Alex, she returned to her studies with renewed confidence. She no longer felt like an outsider among the alien elites she belonged. Though her adventure on Irinder was over, Alex knew it had changed her forever. Somewhere, deep in the jungle, the Vraxer roamed free, perhaps remembering the Deathworlder who had dared to face it. And Alex, looking up at the stars, felt ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. The days that followed the presentation were a whirlwind for Alex. News of her team's encounter with the Vraxer spread quickly through the Academy, turning them into legends overnight. Students whispered about the Deathworlder who had faced down one of the galaxy's most feared predators. Even professors who had once doubted Alex's abilities now nodded in approval when she passed by. But fame wasn't what mattered to Alex. What stayed with her was the sense of growth she felt within herself. She had started this journey unsure of how she fit into the intergalactic community, but now she knew she belonged. Her bravery on Irinder had proven something important, not just to others, but to herself. Cale returned to his studies with a newfound respect for teamwork. He often stopped by Alex's dorm to share insights or ask questions, their bond strengthened by the challenges they had overcome together. Rena, too, seemed different. The nervous reptilian girl who had doubted every step was now more confident, volunteering for assignments and even cracking jokes during class. Jake settled into life at the Academy, becoming a mentor to students eager to learn about survival in hostile environments. His tales of Irinder fascinated everyone, and his admiration for Alex only grew as he watched her continue to excel. "You've got a fire inside you," he told her one evening. "Don't ever let it go out." Dr. Lurzin recovered fully and submitted the team's findings to the Intergalactic Research Council. Their report changed how scientists viewed apex predators, emphasizing the importance of understanding rather than fearing them. The footage of the Vraxer became a cornerstone of future studies, inspiring new methods of observation and analysis. As weeks turned into months, Alex found herself reflecting on the lessons she had learned. The jungle of Erinder had been brutal, but it had also taught her resilience. Facing the Vraxer had shown her that courage wasn't the absence of fear, it was acting despite it. And working with her team had reminded her that no challenge was insurmountable when people supported each other. One evening, as she strolled through the Academy's observatory, Alex paused to gaze at the stars. Somewhere out there was Erinder, its dense jungles and glowing fungi hidden beneath layers of mystery. And somewhere on that planet was the Vraxer, roaming free and untamed. She wondered if it ever thought about the small group of beings who had dared to stand their ground. "Thinking about your old friend?" a voice asked behind her. Alex turned to see Kale standing nearby, his wings shimmering faintly under the soft lights. She smiled. "Maybe," she admitted. "It's strange, isn't it? We went there to study it, but I think it ended up teaching us more." Kale tilted his head thoughtfully. "Perhaps that's the point of these missions, to learn not just about others, but about ourselves." Rena joined them moments later, carrying a tray of snacks. "You two are always so deep in thought," she teased. "Come on, we're supposed to celebrate tonight, remember?" That night, the team gathered in the Academy's dining hall for a small celebration. Jake, Dr. Lurzin, and several classmates joined them, sharing stories and laughter. For the first time in a long while, Alex felt truly at peace. She had come to Zentrix 7 hoping to prove herself, but she had gained something far greater, a family among the stars. As the party wound down, Alex stepped outside onto a balcony overlooking the campus. The cool night air brushed against her face, and she closed her eyes, letting the sounds of the galaxy wash over her. No matter where her journey took her next, she knew she would carry the lessons of Erinder with her. In the distance, a shooting star streaked across the sky. Alex smiled softly, feeling a quiet sense of gratitude. Somewhere out there, the universe waited, vast, unpredictable, and full of possibilities. And she was ready.